Good morning and welcome to Christian Car Guy Radio. This morning you're obviously on the spaceship. We're going to take some travels down a few avenues, and part of what we're going to talk about this morning, well, first let me just introduce myself. I'm Jerry Mathis, Christian body shop guy with Ray's Body Shop and Wrecker Service here in Winston-Salem. Also with me this morning is Darren DeWitt, who is with Color's Edge. I'm going to get to him. And, Darren, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Darren from Color's Edge. We have about 7 locations all throughout North Carolina. We sell PPG automotive paint and supplies to the local collision centers in the area.
Yeah, and I think when people hear that I've got Darren on the radio with me this morning, may not understand, and hoping we get finished an hour from now, that you're going to have a little bit better understanding of the services that they're able to provide. And it's not just to the automotive body shop industry. It's also for the walk-ins and just the hobbyists and guys that may just be wanting to, or ladies that may just be wanting to spend a weekend freshening up their car. So we're going to kind of get into that. But this morning also is the time of the season that if you have a child that is about ready to venture off to college, there's a few things that we're going to talk about this morning that hopefully will make that transition a little bit easier and maybe also save a whole lot of heartache over the years to come if there's some things that they know. And as we go into this and talk about it a little bit, I always encourage people to always, when you have a new driver, some of this stuff isn't just for the kids going off to college. Some of it is just to sit down as a parent and go over some of the things that could happen that you need to know, that you take for granted that there was always mom or dad to be able to handle that, where all of a sudden you get behind the wheel of that vehicle, wrap your hands around the steering wheel, and you're in charge for a little bit. You need to be able to make those decisions. I know Darren, he went a lot of miles away from home going to college when he went to college. So. Oh, yeah.
I went from Southern California all the way out to Virginia. Yeah. Did that several times a year, going back and forth. And it's exciting doing road trips when you're in college, but there's definitely a lot of hazards out there, and I hit some of them.
I think we all have at some point, but the thing is, there's a lot of things we can do to when those circumstances come up that we can do to make it a little bit easier, not only on our kids, but, at the end of the day, it'll probably make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to kind of just jump into this, and Darren, whenever I hit on something, if you have something to add to it, just jump right in there. And also this morning, I just meant to remind you, this is a call-in show, Christian Car Guy Radio. Call-in show, give us a call. Let us know about your first experience sending a kid off to college, or maybe you were that kid that went off to college and sort of hit one of them potholes in the road or bumps in the road and had to sort of work your way through it. But if you have one of those stories, give us a call. The number is 866-348-7884. Once again, 866-348-8784. So we'd love to hear from you. And if you have one of those stories, right off the bat, if you go to the website, for Christian Car Guy Radio, you'll see 5 things that we think you ought to know, or you have to make sure that you tell your kids about. And part of that is just common sense. But yet again, it's not really common sense. Somebody has to tell you that. I know that when my daughter went off to, as a matter of fact, my daughter went to Virginia also, went to the same school that Darren went to.
Exactly.
Liberty.
Great school.
Yeah,
great school. Liberty University.
Yeah. And Liberty has a lot of connection with this radio station, this network. So Liberty University was a great choice for her. Well, one of the things that we did, or when me and her mom, well, I'll tell you what, Darren, I'm going to share a little bit of a story because I talked to a couple people this week who will be sending off their kids to college for the first time. And one of them is going to Liberty, as a matter of fact. Chris Davis, who owns Davis Garage in Winston, is sending his son off to Liberty University. And we were talking about it, and I said, I'll tell you a story. When Taylor went to Liberty, she was on scholarship for cheerleading, so she had to be there a few weeks early. Well, our decision was that Myra, my wife, was going to go up and stay a few days because there was not many people on campus. But I knew that if Myra got upset, Taylor would get upset. So I give her this big speech about make sure you don't get all teary and get all upset because that'll get Taylor upset. So I tell Taylor, now you make sure you don't get all upset and teary-eyed and start crying and stuff, because that'll get Mama upset. And so we agreed on that. Both of them agreed they weren't going to do that. I talked to them separately, so they didn't know that I'd talked to the other one. Well, we get up there and I move her in, and it's Sunday evening, and I need to be back because I got to get up and go to work on Monday morning. Oh, yeah. And as we're getting ready to go, I decide it's time for me to go ahead and leave. And I look around, and all of a sudden, it just sort of, the weight of it just sort of hit me. I'm standing there, and tears are running down my cheek, and both of them looked at me and said, "Now, you're the one that told me not to make sure I didn't get upset," so that, made me kind of eat some crow. But you know what? Our kids are excited about going off to college. We're excited to be able to send them and seeing them take that next step in life. But it's tough. It's not easy.
Yeah, and I got the opportunity to drive about 3 full days to kind of get over that, because I had to say goodbye to my parents when out in Southern California. They were just letting. I went with a couple of friends. Actually, a lot of friends from my high school actually wound up going to Liberty University also. So it was kind of a little bit odd thing of Southern California going all the way out to Virginia. But Liberty was a good Christian university for us. So and we wanted to go to a good one. And they just my sister had gone there, so we I had known some stuff about that. So. But, for them to allow us to drive, you're talking about 18-year-old kids going on about, I think there's 3 cars between all of us doing a caravan all the way across the country as our first real trip. That's it's quite an adventure for a teenager, but for a parent, my parents were very, very, very worried, but they tried to prepare us as much as possible.
How were cell phones? How did you have communication? I know today's...
Oh, yeah, there was no cell phones. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they were just coming out. I forgot. Yeah, I think my brother-in-law had like one of those ones that were looked like a suitcase or something.
Yeah, and you saw it on Get Smart or something.
Exactly. So if when you broke down or we had that kind of stuff, there was no... I think we had a CB radio, if some of the younger generation knows about those anymore. But
CB radio,
yeah, almost like a walkie-talkie type. But that was all we had to communicate between the 3 cars. But as far as having any kind of emergency or accident or something like that, it was basically pay phones or get to the next off ramp and go down to a gas station that was located there and call for help from one of the local telephones or ask for a guy, hey, can we use your phone inside the office?
Yeah. So. How many people now, I wonder, would see a phone booth on the corner and wonder what in the world is that thing? It used to be where you were traveling and stuff and you'd use a phone, you were looking for those things, and it's a different world.
Yeah, exactly. So I think pagers were the only real wireless thing I had, for the most part. So
and then you still had, when you got the pager and it went off, it just had a number there, and you had to go try to find a phone to make that call. So it didn't really.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't really help too much, but
times have changed. That's for sure. Well, since we're talking about phones, talk about 5 things that as you send a kid off to college, your child off to college, that they should have programmed in their phone. And I'm going to talk about those and then a reason why I think that's important. And this is not, here again, this isn't what they should have programmed in their phone just to go off to college. This is something they should have in their phone or available that they can go to instantly whenever they need it, because these numbers are going to be used basically when you're in a little bit of a crisis. And I don't want to get too far into that because we're fixing to come up on a break. But that's the other part we talked about just a moment ago, and you think about it, now our kids do have that availability. Most of the time it's on their hip, a phone, but also with that, this is sort of not on this list, but also I think we need to make sure we educate our kids the value of those phones and also the dangers of those phones.
Yeah, they're more than just a social tool and more than just a texting tool or anything like that. That's actually a computer, in the palm of your hands that gives you pretty much almost any type of information you could ever want, you can actually get access to with today's phones.
Yeah, another piece of that is also driving. It's just naturally, if your phone rings or you hear the whatever the tone is that comes up, if you've got a text, is to go to that and stuff and take your eye off the road and also your concentration off the road,
Exactly.
which can be very dangerous. Once again, be back in a moment. I'm Jerry Mathis with Ray's Body Shop and Record Service with Darren this morning. It's a call-in show, 866-348-7884. Be back in just a moment. Give us a call with your story. I think we all wish we knew what we knew now when we were a little younger. I think we may have changed a few things. I don't know, maybe not. That's the question. This morning, like I said, we're going to talk about 5 numbers or 5 things that I think everyone, I'll say we should do it for our kids going off to college. We should make sure that they have that programmed in their phone. But also, I think it's important that all of us, for our parents and for our spouse and all of our other kids, I think one of the first things they go out and get behind the wheel of a vehicle, it's important that they know these things. Mm-hmm. Number 1, a good insurance agent that you can call and talk to, because you never know when you're going to need to contact that agent, because that agent is going to be able to give you a lot of important information if you are in an accident or what to do. So it's good to have that number in there. And part of when it says that number about having that in there and contacting an insurance agent, I think it's important to have an agent for me and for my family is somebody that they can talk to.
Exactly, yeah, because it's, and that was like, we have it now, and growing up, we just dealt with our agent. Our agent knew our whole entire family, so, when you call them up, you're not just a stranger or a number. And they actually know a little bit of history of who you are and stuff. So that's why agents are very important, I think, to have a number for and call.
Yeah, and I think that's that's one of the things I think we lose in the environment we are in now, where you have so many of the internet-driven insurance companies. You lose that personal contact and stuff, and I think that's important. One of the things about I think this needs to be done before the time you need it. But since we're talking about insurance agents, there's so many things on your policy that you can add onto your policy that the cost is so minimal. If you're sending a kid off to college, and especially if it's not close by or whatever, it's important that they have roadside assistance.
Yep.
If they have run out of gas, have a flat tire, a breakdown, whatever it may be, lock their keys in their car. And a lot of times you think you need to get that standalone. There's plenty of companies out there.
Yeah, I think we used to do AAA back in the day, with their stuff as far as roadside assistance. But a lot of the insurance companies now have their own kind of operation also that they include in a lot of their policies. But it's one of those things where you have to, sometimes, they don't, recommend it to you or anything like that, because, a lot of times people just look at cost and say, okay, I just need to have it low as possible. But there's some, little tweaks that they can do there where that'll raise it just very minimally and be able to have a lot more coverage, a lot more insurance, basically, for times when you need it.
Yeah, insurance aspect of having roadside, it is just dollars for your premium. It's not much. And just having that peace of mind. I know when Taylor went off, that's the first thing we added, because in Virginia, we're in Winston, so I added that through our insurance policy to be able to have roadside assistance. And there ended up being a couple of times that it certainly helped her. Oh, and I was glad to have that, because it's a long drive up there just to help her get the keys out of a car.
Well, I've had it where, my gas gauge stuck. And I'm driving down the freeway, coming down, and all of a sudden my car just stopped. And this is, back when I was younger. Obviously, I don't do those things now, of course. Yeah. So, no, but all of a sudden you're sitting there looking at it, looks like I have gas. I'm not understanding what's not going on with my car, but wound up making that phone call. They came out and realized that the gas gauge was had a hang up in it, and got me on the road really quick.
Yeah, so that first number, have your insurance agent, and along with that also have the number, the 800 number, whatever it is, the one that provides the roadside assistance for them, because that's going to save you a lot of headaches and a peace of mind when they're not there with you. Another thing I'm just going to stop on as far as adding to your policy that people don't think much about, car rental. It is like, say, dollars. I mean, it's very inexpensive. And if your car breaks down or is in an accident and stuff, you will be amazed how much of a blessing that is to be able to get into a rental car if it's a collision claim or something, so you're not stranded. I mean, we count on our cars this day.
Yeah, because you would know this too, because the average, and I want to say the average time a car is in the shop is about 4 or 5 days, or depending on the severity of the crash, and it could be as long as 2 weeks. And I've seen cars out for almost a month, depending on if parts are available or anything like that.
Yeah, that's I mean, there's cars that we've had that we've waited on parts for a month.
Yeah,
because now with the new with all the when all the car manufacturers, they've changed their structure. They don't have those parts available like they used to. So if it's a low usage part or something, you may wait. It can take up to a month to get a part in sometimes, and it seems so hard to believe. But it is true. I mean, we deal with it, and that's one of the biggest struggles that body shops are having now, and insurance companies too, is the fact of just availability of parts.
Yep.
Okay, another number 2 thing, make sure they have a good mechanic or repair facility that works on their make of vehicle that's in that area. And there I go again. When Taylor, when we took her to school, the first week I went up, I looked around to see what was available for her, and I talked to, there's a body shop right there on the edge of campus. Went in there and talked to them guys. As a matter of fact, I think they were PPG users also.
I believe they are. Yep.
But talked to them and told them my daughter's going to college at Liberty, and so I got a name and a contact, gave it to Taylor. And as a matter of fact, probably wasn't after making that contact with him. It probably was only 3 or 4 weeks. She was cheerleading and had all this stuff in her trunk and slammed her trunk, in which got it jammed. So they had to go by and take her back seat out and get her trunk opened up, and everything was fine. But it's a whole lot easier. It took them a few minutes to do that instead of me having to do it. She just called me. I said, give them a call. I called them, went over, and was taken care of. So it was just being able to do that just saves you a lot of headache.
Yep. Also,
a wrecker service. And this goes for if it's in your hometown, know a wrecker service that you can use. Why do that? There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, this should be really up your alley.
Yeah, this is in my wheelhouse. But one of it is when you have an accident or breakdown, and I'll get back into this, but one thing is where the car is going to be towed to. Exactly. And also it's going to save you some money because you probably got a relationship and they know you and you're on a first name basis, or you can say, I've talked to you before. We're going to get back to finish up these 5 pieces of numbers that you need to have in your phone, and then also some other things we need to do to prepare our kids for college and also young drivers.
So one morning when the sun was warm, I rambled out of New York town, pulled my cap down over my eyes, headed out for the western skies. So long, New York. Howdy, East Orange.
I'll tell you what, Jasper's got the tunes rolling this morning at the production booth. I appreciate that. Okay, back to our numbers that we need to make sure they have in their phone. One of them is the wrecker service. That's going to save you money. For one thing, you know where the vehicle's going to be towed. You're going to have it towed somewhere close to the facility where you're either located at or your home. Also, you can probably make it a little bit easier on yourself because they're also have communication where you can tell them where to tow it. If it's a breakdown, go ahead and take it directly to the shop that's going to do those repairs. If it's a collision, take it to the body shop because that eliminates a second tow and gets the process moving a whole lot quicker. Another number, have a good body shop or glass company in the phone and everything. It is important, and that's another one that's going to save you a lot of money and also a lot of aggravation, is to have that body shop who you're going to use. Make sure you have that number available so you can, or so that child can go ahead and make that call and get the process going. A locksmith is one of the numbers I had in there, but if you have them and have a roadside assistance program that they're using, you really don't need that number because that's the number you're going to need to call to make sure that they are able to take care of that.
Exactly.
Before we go into the other 8 things that we believe our kids should know, or really anybody who gets behind the wheel of a vehicle should know, we'll go back to Darren a little bit. Darren, having him in the studio this morning, a good friend and also a good partner in our work relationship with Ray's Body Shop and Record Service and Colors Edge. What got you into this industry?
That
wasn't something you learned at Liberty, was it?
No, unfortunately. So, no, we, my actually family actually grew up in the business, and I actually came at it from a different angle than most, because my uncle had some jobber stores out in Southern California called DeWitt's A to Z Paint, and as they continued to grow out there, my father was in the warehousing side of it. So we actually supplied the paints, the associated products like sandpaper, masking paper, anything that a body shop, collision center will use. We supplied the jobber store for those items, and then my uncle sold his business, went in with my father, and then they grew that company kind of nationwide, and wound up selling it. I worked for them after I finished up at Liberty. I went to go work for my father and work in that company and travel throughout the United States doing sales, and so I got to learn all the products. And then once they sold, I wanted the opportunity to kind of start my own business and see kind of what I could do there. Had a great opportunity here in North Carolina. I was living here at the time. I'd worked here for several years, and a lot of my friends were from this area from college and everything. So it kind of made a natural fit to kind of stake out here in North Carolina and start getting into the business, because I had seen, there was, in the old days, service was very, very important. And then it kind of got away a little bit, and now it looks like it's coming back again. And so when we came in 2004, we really focused on service into the industry, because like I said, on all these things, as we were talking in the break a little bit, with their internet age and all this other stuff, people forget that personal relationship actually really does make the experience 10 times greater, a lot less stressful, a lot easier to do. So, and that was kind of some of our goals, is to kind of make sure that the service is out there, make sure people are educated, get people to know, this industry is a great industry. It always has been. And a lot of people have kind of gone away from it because it is, they view it a little bit of blue collar or anything like that. But it's a very, very well, there's a lot of great people in this industry. And it ranges the spectrum of people. So it's just great.
Yeah. And you, just by mentioning that, I'm going to sort of dovetail back into that. Part of we talked about a moment ago was the fact of our relationship to Ray's Body Shop and Record Service and Colors Edge, and then you talked about the personal aspect of it, the relationship. So my question is, why is it important that, that's sort of the model that it did at one point sort of get away from that. It became more of just a price structure thing, and it was where you even order it online and just try to have it where it was less of a personal thing, more of just the model that you were just really just getting the product and not much personal touch. Why is it important to have those relationships for a body shop to have it with a paint supplier and a paint company, and also for the paint company to have it with a body shop?
Yeah, a lot of it is the complexity of the industry, of our portion of the industry, I should say, because there's a lot of new things, a lot of new technologies and everything that have kept evolving. I think when my uncle first got into the industry with his jobber stores, I think they were still selling lacquer, and now we're in waterborne paints. So the industry continually changes and moves. You've got different pressures that hit on the body shop side, and for collision centers and body shops, when you wreck your car, it's not a fun day. And when you have to go into a body shop, our goal is to make that, for the collision centers is to make that less stressful, less impactful, help encourage those people that were in an accident, and try to I guess, get them, as not as upset, because they're going to be without their car for a while and everything. So, with that, with the complexity of the cars too, body shops, it's hard for them, if they're just on by themselves, just ordering products and everything like that, with all the new technologies and all the different things that are coming out, the paint company and the paint supplier, they got to be involved with that as far as getting them educated, letting them know what's going on within the industry, letting them know what different technologies are going on with the car. So we help out with the training portion of it, getting technicians. You've got great companies like iCar and stuff that deal with a lot of this stuff also. But a jobber, which is what we're classified as, we help try to encourage that and facilitate that and get our customers educated so that they can provide better service for their customers. So it's kind of a snowball effect, I guess, is what you can say.
Yeah, and even the material that the vehicle is made of is continually change. I mean, now the more prevalent the amount of aluminum that is used compared to what it was 10 years ago is just it's just a huge leap.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know, if you use a product that you use, like if you use a grinding wheel or anything that you had on steel and you work on aluminum with it, it's now contaminated. That aluminum's going to react, and you're going to have issues down the road with that panel that you were working on with that. So now you've introduced like a whole new set of tools. So there's a lot of different things that go involved in that, and it requires good education and both on the jobber side and on the technician side.
Yeah, and I think it's probably important to recognize, as far as the body shops, through the insurance industry, they were really demanding that you're up to speed on it and up to current data as far as the type of the vehicles and what needs to be used on them. And that's part of what I think that building in those relationships with suppliers and the body shop, because you have those resources to kind of, all work together, because there's things that you may know an avenue to. If I have a question on something, and a lot of times I'll talk to one of our paint reps or one of the reps for Colors Edge, and we sort of see what's available out there to take that next step that needs to happen. And that's why I think it's important that even the insurance industry wants the body shops to partner with a jobbler and a paint company that is going to be able to give that to them.
Correct. Yeah. And, so, cause like I said, that's, there's a lot of different things to where, some of these steels, if you try to weld them with a regular welder, it warps the steel immediately, makes it, they're called high strength steels and stuff. And all of a sudden that, it destroys the crash zones basically, and so the car's not going to perform like it should in an accident to help protect the drivers and the occupants from getting injured or on that end. So they've got special welders out for that stuff, and so there's a lot of different things that continually, as the car manufacturers keep trying to find ways to both lighten the car, get better fuel mileage, change up the engine types. And even going down to the paint side, because the paint is, a lot of these guys will. A lot of people don't understand that paint is very, very, very expensive. I think you know that.
I will amen to that.
And a lot of it is because these car companies are trying to find out. They need a way to make their car stand out from someone else. So they're going into a lot of these new pearls and new micas, new type of products that are very, very expensive to make their car stand out, which makes repairability of it that much more both expensive and imperative to get knowledge to the shop to repair it correctly.
Yeah, and I think the goal should always be if you're getting your car repaired, and also for a body shop or your suppliers, is to get that vehicle back into pre-accident condition.
Exactly.
And part of that is making sure that it's safe and sound and it's back into the point where you can put your child in it and feel comfortable with them going up the road and going off to school. Yep. Be back in a moment. Once again, call in show 866-348-7884.
Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped. My hands can't feel to grip. My toes too numb to step. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering. I am ready to...
Welcome back to Christian Car Guy Radio Show. We got Darren with me this morning. I'm going to throw one more question out to him before I get back to our list. I hope you go on our website and see and pull up college-bound kids and car care. I look at the list of things because I think those are important things that they should know. But one of the questions I have for Darren, since he's here this morning, is I know that the relationship with the body shops and the bigger customers for you, but if I'm a hobbyist or I'm just a guy or gal who's just going to spend the weekend working on the car, anything that you could offer me?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people kind of can get, I guess, intimidated a little bit with their vehicles and stuff like that as far as car care and everything like that. But that's why I always encourage people, find your local paint distributor, automotive paint distributor, or and stop in, because everyone that I've ever met within this industry is very, very friendly, and they just want to help because they're in this industry because they love cars, and so they'll come in. You can ask them pretty much any question you'd like. If you come in any of our stores, you can ask any of our counter guys or anyone that's in there a question, and they're more than happy to answer any question you might have. We always tell guys there is no such thing as a dumb question, when you come in and talking about cars, because cars are very, there's just so many different models, makes, years since they've been making them. So what you might do for a 1965 vehicle, you're not going to do with a 1998 car even, or a 2015 car or 2018 car that you just got. But car care, if you just got it back from the repair shop, you want to put waxes on it and stuff, that's a big no. So we come in and we have some of those products, and paint distributors, stores like us, we have some of those products that will give you that same look for a while, because it takes a while for that fresh paint to kind of gas off a lot. So it'll protect your finish and still give you that look. So there's different things, but we're more than happy to answer pretty much any question that you come in and help make that job fun.
Yeah, part of, a big piece of it is just the safety aspect of it, because a lot of these things are messing with chemicals and stuff. So it's just a lot of things to put, what to wear, gloves when you're using a mask or whatever it may be. A lot of guys may say, well, I'm just going to do a little bit of paint work and don't think about what chemicals are spraying in the air, and they don't, there's some huge safety issues they need to worry about. Yeah,
because a dust mask, when you're actually spraying clears, base coat, anything like that actually is liquid, a dust mask is not going to protect you from any of the chemicals that are going to be coming out of that spray gun for you. You actually need to get a respirator. And they range in cost, they're usually around $20 on up, depending on where you're at and what kind of brand you want. But, that gloves, safety equipment, we'll be the first to kind of recommend and let them know based on the job you're doing. If you've never done it before, to let you know what safety precautions you need to have in order to do it, safely.
Yeah, and if somebody comes in to the store and happens to have some bird droppings on their paint or maybe berries or whatever it may be, make sure, this is Darren, that they understand that they do not take the Brillo pad that they normally scrub their pots and pans with to try to scrub those out. We have people come in every few weeks somebody comes in where they've taken a Brillo pad or one of the Scotch scuff pads that they pots and pans, and they go out there and they clean it all off, and then all of a sudden they've sanded their finish. So depending on how aggressive they were on what kind of cost it is to repair that. But go to somebody and ask them.
Exactly.
That's why it's also important to have a relationship with the body shop, because we have people come in all the time and will ask the same thing. There's no dumb question. Just come in. We have guys that'll be willing to help them out, or I'll be able to help them out, at least give them some advice. Okay, back to our list. There's 8 things that we think you should, or anyone driving a vehicle should know. And it's all of these things are found in your owner's manual. So first thing, I think I'm going to sort of cut to the quick of it because of just time restraint, but look at those lists and everything and make sure that you know those things. You know how to change the oil, or at least to check the oil to make sure you're not running around with no oil in your car, and all the other fluids, how to change a flat tire, how to, check things, and when to listen for if your brakes are needing replaced, all that stuff in the owner's manual. Also, one of the things that I always say when I send a new driver and put them behind the wheel is to sort of go over what to do in case of. What are those in case ofs? One of them is what to do in case of a breakdown. Go back to those numbers. You need to call your roadside assistance. You need to call, get it to a mechanic. You need to understand and who that call needs to be made to. Yep. Also, if you've been in an accident, who you're going to call. what wrecker service you're going to call, where they're going to tow the vehicle when they come. Every city and every county, most of them have some type of a rotation list, so they may be sending you a wrecker. If you're broke down or in an accident, they're going to get you moved off the road, but you don't know where that vehicle's going to. It may be, you may be living on one end of the county, it could be towed to the other end of the county. Their time frame and hours open may not work with your work schedule, so all of a sudden you have to take time off. These little things that you don't think about, and then you got to worry about your second tow, because if it goes to a facility that you're not going to have it repaired at, either mechanical or body-wise, for an accident, that's another tow that you've got to, an expense you got to take. And a lot of insurance companies do not pay for that second tow. The second tow could be out of your pocket. Yeah. So those are the things you need to look at, because we just sort of take those things for granted. And as I said, I know how important it is for me when my daughter went off to college. I went through all those things, what ifs, and make sure she understood who to call and stuff locally, and to make sure that one thing, the car was taken care of and she was taken care of. Because also when you have those relationships with a towing company or a body shop, the personal touch that we talked about earlier, that sort of plays into it, because they kind of know you and you've made a connection with them. And even if they don't, just people come in all the time, because we're in Winston-Salem. There's Wake Forest and Winston-Salem State and Salem College and School of the Arts and Piedmont International. All these colleges we have relationships with. So there's people that'll come in who've had an accident. They'll explain, well, my dad told me, or one of my professors, or one of the guidance counselors told me to make sure I call you. So we already know that we're going to work with them to, if it means stay a few hours or an hour later, to make sure they get picked up and stuff to get back to where they need to go. It's just those simple things.
Yeah, and I would add this one thing. After you've made those phone calls, the other neat feature that's you're going to be on most phones, if not on every phone, is that camera. And if you are unfortunate and you were in an accident, I always recommend just, after you make all your phone calls, everything like that, just take pictures of your vehicle and the crash area and everything like that, but make sure you get a full picture of the vehicle also, because some people just take a picture of the bent fender or something like that. But take pictures of that also to help you in the long run with dealing with your insurance and everything like that.
The more information you have, the better off you're going to be, and probably the less aggravation. One of the things we have at Ray's Body Shop and Wrecker Service, and I encourage anybody who comes by, and especially students at one of the colleges or first-time drivers, we tell them to put it in the glove box. It's a little pamphlet, and it has the 10 things to know before having your car repaired. But part of it is what to do in case of an accident. And if you open it up, on one of the inside things is accident information. It has a little diagram, so you can diagram the accident, get to record any witnesses that may be there, and then sort of what you remember about the accident. Those are the things that are going to make a huge difference. As we get ready to wrap up, once again, Darren, thank you for being here this morning. I tell you what, it's been a great morning.
Yep.
Thank you for what y'all do at your store. So if you need any kind of paint supplies or anything, Color's Edge.
You can find our locations at colorsedge.com, and we're all throughout the North Carolina.
And once again, just thank you for being with us this morning. Also, I'm going to leave on one thing is, if you're in an accident or a breakdown, one thing to remember, just slow down. Just take a deep breath. Things will get a whole lot easier. And also take a moment to just pray about it. Because after you slow down, take a breath, pray about it, things will sort of fall into place a whole lot easier. Because during an accident or breakdown, you're in a crisis. Once again, great being here this morning. I'm Jerry Mathis, Ray's Body Shop and Wrecker Service. Robbie will be back next week. Once again, have a great weekend. And for those sending their kids off to college, Lord, say a prayer with them. In God's name, I just thank you for being here. And once again, see you next week.